Some people think nature is like this, but actually, it's like this. That's why Columbia engineers everything we make for anything nature can throw at you. Columbia, engineered for whatever.
Welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast. I am Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Buddy, I'm tired. How are you?
I'm right there with you. I'm not probably quite as tired as you are. You look like you had a long day.
Long day of work. Long day of running a few errands after work. 5:40 wake-up calls are no fun. Full week of work, too, so the mentality on Thursday wasn't there. Got to work tomorrow. You know, say what you want to say.
Yeah.
I believe this. When you have a Friday off, Thursdays can become the most energized day in the world. Right?
That's right, man.
I'm looking to Friday, and it's great it's there tomorrow, but when you have it off, it's just a sense of like, I don't have to do anything responsible tomorrow. Yes, I have to wake my kids up. I have to get one to daycare. I've got to get the other to virtual school. But other than that, I don't have anything really responsible. So
I put my dad hat on for a little bit, and then I just kind of coast through the day.
Exactly. You know, clean up a little stuff around the house, maybe play a video game. Yeah, just fun stuff like that, man. Now, you hit me up. You got brutalized today with Curry, huh?
Yeah, man. I had my job sometimes is a slow flow for an extended period, and then a lot of hyperactivity for several hours to a couple days. So it was one of those, 4 to 6 hours of hyperactivity today. So I was banging out queries left and right, but I got it done, and the big wigs are happy, so that's all that matters.
That's all that matters, man. Hey, how about this though? Let's just look holistically at things. Next week's essentially a 2 to 2.5 day work week with lots of football, lots of good food. Obviously not as big of family gatherings as normal and things like that, but still going to be a great weekend, man.
Everyone's going to eat well and watch a lot of football, so there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
And it's going to be a short work week. And I'd say, 30 to 40% of people probably have Friday off too?
I'd say 30, 40%. Yeah, if you're not in the retail world, some corporations will, have certain jobs going on, but majority of people will have off. So, yeah. Hey, Brian, let's just get to it, man. Hokies coming after rough loss to Miami by a point, have to travel up to the land of no change. That would be Heinz Field, because Heinz Field this year will look like Heinz Field 2 years ago. No Energy Stadium, no one there. So luckily, the players have always prepped for that, which is a good thing. But let's get to know the enemy. Hokies go up again north to Pitt, the 4-4 Pitt Panthers. Brian, usually we've started on offense a lot, but we're going to script because Pitt is a different animal. We're going to start with the defense. This is easily the best statistical defense the Hokies have played all year. And this is a Pitt team that's missing defensive tackle Jalen Twyman, who opted out very early in the process that he'd want to play this year. He's obviously going to be a first or second round pick. And then you got safety Paris Ford, who just a couple weeks ago opted out. Ford, again, one of those guys earlier this year, me and you questioned, why did he come back? Like, he could have gotten drafted in, without a doubt, the first 3 or 4 rounds, came back, had played very well, definitely improved his draft stock even higher. But, Brian, let's just look at the numbers real quick before you get into what we're looking at from them. They are the 8th total defense in the country. They only give up 296 yards a game, only 23 points per game. Again, a very good number. And rushing defense-wise, Brian, they are number 2 in the country. So it's a strength on strength again. They are only giving up 78 yards per game. So, Brian, what are we seeing from this type defense?
So the big thing, it's kind of almost a dinosaur when we really talk about it, man. They run a true 4-3 defense. And, most of the time when we talk about 4-man front defenses in college football these days, it's either some version of the 4-2-5 or kind of a multiple front situation. But these guys are a true 4-3. That means unless it's like long down situations, they usually have 3 linebackers on the field. But when we talk about their strength, the strength is definitely their front 7, and especially their D-line. Even without Twyman in there, they still got some studs up front, and their safety play is very good. I know they're missing Ford now, but their safety play is very good as well. The really only weak area of this team is probably their cornerbacks, and that's not necessarily a weakness. It's just not a strength.
Yeah, Brian, you mentioned that defensive line, and I tell you what, they're leading the country with 38 sacks total on the year. They're also leading the country in tackles for loss. They get almost 12 per game, which is pretty wild. And those 2 defensive linemen, the first thing I noticed was the 757 product, Patrick Jones. Yep, we did offer him. He was offered for 247. So anybody want to get up there and scream, we don't offer the kids. He was offered. 6'5", 260 pounds so far this year, 34 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 8 sacks. Hey, bro, don't you wish we had our scheme we're trying to run this year when we were recruiting this kid? A lot easier to sell, huh?
A lot easier to sell, yeah.
Now, the other guy, defensive end, again, 6'5", 270, Rashad Weaver, 27 tackles, 11.5 for loss, 5.5 sacks. So you mentioned that their front 7's good even without Twyman. Man, they would be borderline. They're elite anyway. They might be the best defensive country if Twyman had come back. So what are you seeing not only from Jones and Weaver, but the other pieces of this line?
Man, the big thing is that both of those defensive ends, Weaver and Jones, they get after the passer.
Yeah.
They're pretty balanced as well. They're good against the run, but when they get into those third and long situations where they can pin their ear back, they are damn scary. And being defensive ends, you see a lot of downs where they're playing meet at the quarterback, where they're both kind of just bearing down on the quarterback after they beat the tackle. So our tackles are going to need to have a pretty damn good game to at least slow these guys down, because there's no way that they're going to consistently stop them the whole game. But if we can just slow them down where they're not able to take over, I think we'll be okay there. Weaver, he has great power with his pass rush, and then Jones is kind of more of the speed edge guy that has a couple really good pass rush moves that can throw guys off balance. So again, across the board, they're good, but those are the 2 guys to keep an eye on, because they make plays, in the run and as well in the passing game, getting sacks.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, there is no weakness on this team. Even the corners, who they aren't great, but they aren't bad. But we look at the other pieces of this defense. I see really, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Servisha Dennis, the sophomore, 6'1", 230 linebacker out of Syracuse with 51 tackles, 4 sacks, 13 and a half tackles for loss. Jesus, does anybody that we're looking at get below double-digit tackles for loss? That scares the hell out of me. And you talk about the safety play. Yeah, they don't have Parrish Ford. And Ford, before he opted out, 45 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions. That's why I said he solidified. He played it. He said, I think I'm good. I think I've proven that I am going to be one of the
Once they were statistically out of any chance of playing for a ACC championship, he's like, deuces.
But he also played well.
Yeah.
He was doing well. So it was like
he wasn't just out there, biding his time. He was out there balling his ass off until it did make sense for him to risk another injury
exactly
to play out the season.
And we talked about Ford in our leading up to the season, reviewing all the teams. He was one of those elite players. Well, the other safety is just as elite. You look at Damar Hamlin, the redshirt senior, 6'1", 195. He was also a top 247 player back in 2016. 46 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss for him. And then just kind of we look specifically at the upfront numbers, but just more overall information. They're really good at stopping on third down, which has been a real issue for the Hokies on offense. They're only allowing 35.5% conversion rates. They've also forced 14 turnovers, which is top 15 in the country. I mean, Brian, what are you seeing now that we've kind of moved back to the second and the third levels? What are you seeing from these guys?
So Denise is a playmaker at linebacker. He runs well sideline to sideline in pursuit. He gets sent on blitzes a lot on third down and long situations, really putting pressure on the quarterback. And he's just a guy that in the run game, when things kind of get bumped to the outside, he's there making the play, playing underneath the tackles, playing outside the tackles, and making some of those tackles for loss. So he's really a guy that kind of does it all. And he really is an asset to that front and lets those guys on the defensive line, pin their ears back more because he cleans up, any of the mess that is kind of left from those guys getting upfield. And then let's take a look. You mentioned Damar Hamlin, man. I mean, Ford got a lot of the publicity, a lot of the big talk, but I mean, Hamlin is also a guy that's been playing at a very high level for several years now. He's really great in run support from the safety position, so he gets good fits there and cleans up the messes there when things get sent out to the spill area. And he occasionally gets exploited in coverage, but when he's there to make the play, he breaks up a lot of passes. Occasionally we'll get an interception. So, he's a guy that we got to definitely account for both in the run game and when we're throwing the football. So, there's really no weakness to this defense. There's only areas that aren't great.
Yeah, and you talk about being there, the 2 interceptions we mentioned, and he's also got 5 pass breakups for safety. That's a pretty good number. So, Brian, we're looking at every level, best defense we've placed. We're coming off probably, I don't know, 3 of the 4 last weeks on offense, it hasn't clicked. Louisville felt it did click. Now you're going against this really good offense this defense that's going to stack the box, that's going to take our strength away. I mean, this is not going to be an easy task. And as a person that I'm kind of going on an emotional swing, give me some things we've got to do so I can take the emotion out and look more at it, analytically.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is going to be the intermediate passing game. It's been something that we've talked about the last few weeks. It's going to need to play a big role again. But what's also going to need to play a big role is throwing the ball some outside the numbers. We need to take advantage of the fact that if there is an area that isn't exceptional in this defense, it's cornerback. And if we're going to make some plays, that's where we're going to need to take advantage of them. So need to make good connections with receivers outside the numbers, try to stretch the field on them some, but also, give guys the ball in space and let them get up the sidelines as well, make them have to tackle. And as far as the running game, man, I'd like to see us try to run some up the middle, but also get to the edge with them playing, a traditional 4-3. Yes, they've got guys that can at the linebacker position that shed blocks better than like a nickel or a whip or whatever that type of position is on a given defense, but they're not quite as quick. If we can get our guys to the edge and kind of get up that outside alley, we might have some chances to exploit them in the running game as well.
So, Brian, when you say that, are you thinking these are the three thoughts I have when you say what you just said there? And we've seen it a couple times. Jet sweeps.
Yep.
Get them to the edge. The little toss play that we run where essentially the running back and Hendon take 3 or 4 steps and then he pitches the ball where essentially they've cleared the outside tackle or they're not right on his behind.
And I'd like that play to be an option play.
I was going to say speed option. Speed options, forcing those linebackers to get to Hendon and forcing the safeties to come up.
Yeah, if we're running that pitch play, I want Hendon to have the option to hold that ball and get upfield as well. So I don't want it to be an automatic pitch. And yeah, speed option would be great. Quarterback lead outside would be something we would run on occasion to mix things up. Huh?
On occasion, not.
Yeah, that's why I qualified it. Yeah, we don't need to run our quarterback every play, especially if, Herbert's looking to take more like 60% of the running back snaps this week versus, 25% last week. If he can get up to 60% with a guy that you really trust, especially, with Holston coming along some in last game as well, you got to feel good about your situation at running back.
Absolutely, Brian. Now, as good as their defense is, elite status, defense this year, their offense it's just terrible. I mean, there's no other ways to say about it. There's a lot of things we can look at. The first couple things I'm going to look at, Brian, they're only gaining 357 yards per game. That's just not good at all. And where it's really bad is they're averaging 104 on the ground and 253 in the air, which with how we've played against the run, this is good. This is similar to BC, where BC got like 130 yards, but it's like, that's okay. We were giving up a ton of yards.
Yeah.
Now, clearly, those two positions, one is led by Kenny Pickett. So far this season in 6 games, 1,599 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Again, 6, not 8 games. He did miss 2 due to injury. 62% completion. We've seen Kenny Pickett play in person exactly 1 year to the day this game will be played, which is pretty funny.
Yep.
And then we've got the 5'8", 175 running back out of Fort Lauderdale, Vincent Davis, only 313 yards rushing, about 3 a carry, 4 touchdowns. Also pretty good out of the backfield with 104 receiving yards on 17 receptions. So, Brian, what are you seeing out of Pickett and Davis primarily?
So let's start with Pickett, obviously. We've talked a lot about Kenny Pickett on this program between some of the stuff we talked about at the beginning of the season, some of our picks throughout the year, some of the stuff we've looked at other tape as we've been scouting other opponents. We've talked about Kenny Pickett. He's a steady quarterback. He's not elite. He's steady. He's a good quarterback, but nothing more. And because of how much they struggle to run the ball, that's a problem for them. They live and die by the day that Kenny Pickett has.
It's true.
And, he had for his career, he was good out the gate, but he's only taken kind of baby steps each year since then. He's not taking those giant leaps in terms of his growth at the position. But he will make plays with his arm and with his leg, but he also will make throws that kill drives. And and just kind of a guy that hasn't been good enough with the other offensive deficiencies they have to really take them from a adequate offense to an offense that can really make them, compete for an ACC championship game. So, I mean, that's what you get with Kenny Pickett. Vincent Davis, I like what he does. He's kind of like a, kind of that traditional scat back. He's like a one cut, really short, choppy steps. Think like Darren Sproles type running back. Not obviously that elite level of a player, but he's got that kind of build and that kind of game. Smaller and shifty, one cut, good change of direction and gets through holes pretty good when they're there. But he does need the holes to be there to make a play. When it's kind of like a lot of garbage in the middle, he'll get kind of gummed up, get thrown for some, tackles for loss there. And he's good out of the backfield. He can kind of shifty in space. So that's where he's the biggest asset for them, is when he can get the ball in space or get the ball in the running game when there's a big hole there. But they don't do a very good job of making a lot of big holes. This is not an offensive line that does
a lot.
They're probably average to above average in pass pro, but definitely below average in their run game. They fit up well, but they just don't move guys off the ball. And this style of offense that they run, you kind of need to have the holes there to make the running game hum.
You're right, man. And you talk about the offensive line, and I'm glad you mentioned them, because they're about middle of the pack, giving up sacks, about 2 a game. So they've given up 16 sacks so far this year, but they are dreadful. You talk about the tackles for loss. You talk about not making a running game. They are 126th in the country, Brian, in tackles for loss allowed. And that's not all on the line. But when you see that number, you know that is either a average to below average offensive line at run blocking. They're giving up about 8 a game, and they're losing 30 yards a game on this.
Yeah.
Man, you talk about having average game is anywhere between 7 and 10 drives, depending on flow.
Yeah.
Basically, you're saying to yourself, we're starting 1st and 13, which this offense, that's really tough to come over. Now, a couple other things, Brian, before I hit 2 really, to me, these guys are just their keys on offense. Not converting great at third down, 35.8, but believe it or not, they have the 34th most first downs. So when I see that, I think, when they're getting solid yards on first and second, usually they're getting the first down. You get them to third, they're in a whole heap of trouble. They've turned the ball over 9 times. And I think without question, and we've said it a couple times, if they had a decent offense, they'd be 6-2 or 7-1.
Yeah.
If we had their defense, I don't think we had lost a game this year. I think vice versa. If they had our offense, I don't think they would have lost a game so far this year. Maybe Notre Dame. But those 2 key wide receivers, Brian, the first one is the true freshman wide receiver out of Frederick, Maryland, the 6'1", 170, top 247 player, Jordan Addison. In his true freshman season already, lighting up the stat sheet, 611 receiving yards on 52 receptions, averaging about 12 per reception. 3 touchdowns, a long of 75. Also, they get him involved a little bit in the run game. He has 7 rushes for 55 yards. The other more experienced guy is Shockey Jacques Louis. Very interesting name. The junior out of Florida, 6 foot, 185, 273 yards on 23 receptions, no touchdowns, does have a long of 68, and again, he's averaging about 12. What are you seeing from these 2 guys, Brian, of why essentially to make this team go, they've got to go?
So let's start with Jordan Addison, and he's the reason that I think Kenny Pickett has taken a small step forward this year, because he is a very versatile receiver. he's kind of your guy that can work underneath the defenses, catches a lot of the quick hitting routes, some of those outs, some of those screens. He can do a little bit with them. He's taken, one catch for I think a 75-yard touchdown, but he's also the guy that's gonna move the sticks for you with that stuff underneath and get some of those dirty yards. And he runs really good routes for a young receiver. So it's something we need to, take into account there, that he's going to be able to get himself open even against good coverage. And he's also the guy that they use sometimes in those jet sweeps or those times when they're going to give the ball out of the backfield to a receiver. So he really kind of does it all for them. He is the player that's made this offense go from a very plotting and methodical offense last year to at least one that, when things are connecting, it looks pretty good. Shockey Jacques-Louis, he's the guy that's going to be the stick mover. He's going to get those outside the numbers catches. Plays bigger than his frame. I know you said 6 foot, 180, 185. Plays bigger than that. They'll throw him on a fade and post, but a lot of hitches, a lot of 10, 12 yard outs. He's a guy that's going to kind of move the sticks for them and get them those hard first downs when they're in those 3rd and long situations. Whereas Addison's the guy that gets them in those shorter down and distance areas on 1st and 2nd when they can kind of go against the average and throw on 1st down. So both of them are going to be key to get their offense moving, and hopefully we can do something to slow those guys down.
All right, again, Brian, I'll kind of reiterate it. Again, if they had a decent offense, sky's the limit for them, but they don't. So
if they could just run the ball where you could key on those two guys, I think you'd say a little bit more about them. But they just consistently cannot run the ball where you really can focus on kind of controlling what Addison and Jacques-Louis do. And also, occasionally Kenny Pickett makes a bad throw. These receivers, as good as they are, have had a lot of drops this year. So, a lot of times they end up moving the ball a little bit and then kind of shooting themselves in the foot. So hopefully we can make sure we don't break and give up the big one. So we can force them to kind of beat themselves a little bit.
So how do we beat them? I mean, obviously our defense is not world beaters right now, and it's one of those weeks where it's like we're not going against an offense with a ton of weapons and showing a lot. What can we do to beat them?
I think we're going to need to get after Kenny Pickett. We need to make him uncomfortable. We need to make him throw before he's ready. We need to sack him and hit him. Whether that's bringing 4 and getting guys like Barno and Justice Reed meeting in the backfield, whether that's bringing 1 or 2 extra guys in a zone blitz, or whether it's going kind of man free and, bringing guys from areas that they're not expecting. We need to keep the receivers in front of us. When they catch it, we need to make sure we're where we need to be. And as always, tackle, 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 especially Jordan Addison.
So just the tackle is becoming the weekly number 3.
I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but I mean, as much as we've struggled with it off and on this season, I'm going to keep emphasizing it until I see several games in a row where it's not an issue.
It's true, man. One other point before we get over to the pivotal players, points, personnel, because y'all, it's the pivotal players is becoming more than that. Similar to Miami, Brian, very penalized team, very undisciplined team. Which with Pat Narduzzi, are you shocked? Not at all.
Not
7
shocked.
yards. So similar. Basically, they're giving you an entire football field. We did see that against Miami several times. That helped us out significantly. So hopefully this time it can help us out significantly and get us a W in the win column. All right, Brian. Do you want to announce who's number 1?
Hendon Hooker.
No doubt. We didn't even have to change it. Y'all, in all seriousness, Saturday night after we finish recording, we just kind of start, we're watching late game, sipping on beers. talking this and that. And we just said it right then. I'm like, Brian, Hennon's got to play out of his butt the rest of the year for us to win any games. And he's like, yeah. So Hennon's probably going to stay number one unless something significantly changes.
Unless Herbert gets 100% healthy and we can start 100% leaning on our running game like we did the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season, Hendon Hooker's going to be the guy.
Got to be. Now, number 2 is a group. Not a specific player. We've done some specifics over the last few weeks. But as Brian has stated numerous times, the average group on this defense is their cornerbacks. So our wide receivers this week have to step up. All of them. It seems like Mitchell's going to be back, and I'm putting him in the wide receiver group because he is that versatile. But they have to be. Because we've already said it. They're going to put 8 in the box. They're going to commit to stop the run.
And they're going to probably occasionally dare us to take shots deep. We need to make those plays when they're available.
Need to make those plays when they're available, but we also, as you mentioned earlier, as part of your keys, we've got to run some intermediate stuff. We've got to let it get quick to not let those guys continuously tee off on Hendon. Yeah. So hopefully we draw the right game plan up. Now the third piece, y'all, is
more abstract.
Abstract. This is my brainchild, and I had when I put it on there, I had to talk Brian my reason behind it. But I think because of how good this defense is, how good they are on third down, it's going to be our second down play calls.
Yeah.
And I say that because it's one of those things where we know who our offensive coordinator is. We go out there and on first down, we attempt to run an inside zone and we get 1.5 yards. It is 2nd and 9. We know how good, me and you, just looking at the data, you looking at the tape, you telling me what you're seeing on the tape, we know how good their pass rush is. If we aren't at 2nd and 9 and things like that, getting 3 to 4 positive yards to set up second and manageable or third and manageables, they're going to just be able to go back and tee off. And that's going to be bad. So if you're seeing on this game those second down plays, Brian, and they are bad and they're getting no gain or we're getting 1 yard, shoot me now.
Yep. I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100% on this because, as you said, and as we've seen a lot this year, you know, sometimes first down is the down you want to get creative. And unless you have success on that, second down is where you go with the kind of bread and butter plays, and then you tend to gauge what those plays will be based on what you ran on first down and how much success that had. We need to be not predictable with those play calls, but we need to definitely make sure that we're smart with how we're setting up those plays and smart with understanding down and distance, and that we don't want to get into third and long situations against this defensive line. I mean, you don't want to get in third and long situations against any line, but a line like this that also will occasionally bring pressure on third down with those linebackers is pretty scary.
It's the truth, man. So again, watch our second down plays at 4:00. If you see us being in 3rd and 7 and plus, whatever you're drinking, make sure you have a lot of it because it's going to be a rough day to watch the offense. All right, Brian, let's flip it. The group on defense, as far as pivotal players, pivotal personnel, pivotal points, that we have not mentioned that much this year. But with what they do on offense, it's the corners.
Corners, absolutely. Corners are going to have to cover well. Corners are going to have to tackle well, like I said, especially Addison, who will work underneath kind of some of where our zones are. So they're going to have to come up and make those tackles, in space. So it's going to be important that they cover well and tackle well.
Yep. And, we don't know Jermaine Waller's status. At this point, if he's still banged up, I'm almost thinking he's out for the year. Continue to let Dorian Strong, Brian Murray, or Monty Chapman continue to develop. And I think as the way the first one rolls on, it's the first one kind of goes into the second one, right?
Yeah.
We said it Saturday night. And the number two thing that's got to happen is if you tell me Justin Hamilton calls that game this week, they're not going to get to 17. That's the way I feel. He mixed up his coverages. He mixed up the blitzes. He was going some man. He was going some man free, going man zero. Then there were concepts where he was throwing everybody. He had Miami off balance. Enough of that game, slowed them down. It's the play calls. Can he do it again, Brian?
Yeah, I think he can. I think what he finally said was, I'm going to stop with the calls. Sometimes coaches get into this, especially play callers, we do what we do mentality. And I think he finally broke out of the we do what we do mentality and said, I'm going to call a game that's going to keep the other team off balance, regardless of what we do well, or regardless of what our normal philosophy is. Mixing back in some of the schemes that Bud used that really were successful with the type of players we already have on the roster was a smart move. I think maybe we should have pivoted to this some earlier in the season to kind of get some of those guys comfortable, because a lot of times we didn't do enough when they looked uncomfortable to get them back into the game. And I feel like mixing things up definitely kept them interested and let them know that, hey, we're going to let you do what's comfortable for you, but occasionally you're going to have to get a little uncomfortable and do what you've been coached. And I think the mix of that was good for them.
It really was. And again, if he calls it like he did last week, I think we hold this team down, hopefully enough for a win. All right, third, very controversial here. We're straight laced most of the time. We don't go crazy controversy, although last few Saturday nights and the amount of alcohol and the discussions that have been happening, you can say they're controversial. But after the way he played last week after the first drive, it's Dax. Because if Dax plays that way against this team, he's going to have another big day.
Yeah, Dax was one of the better players on the defense last week, which I haven't said at all this season.
We probably hadn't said since 2018.
Yeah. He had a couple games last year where he played well, not great, but well. This was the first game where, other than the first drive, he looked like he wasn't overthinking and trying to do too much. He let the game come to him. He was in the right position when he had coverage responsibilities in the flat. He did a good job of not letting the quarterback get outside and bust big runs. He used the sideline as leverage. He turned guys back inside when he needed to. It was a soundly played game by Dax, and if he can do that again, that's going to be big for us.
It's absolutely the truth, because with Dax being able to spell Rayshard, being able to either start at backer or spell Tisdale, it keeps that rotation and keeps those guys fresh, which, when we see that, we know as we get deeper into the game, we don't tackles, we don't lose leverage.
We thought that was going to be one of the strengths at the start of the season, was having three guys that you could count on, and just between not really getting the new system and a couple guys coming in out of shape and Tisdale being banged up, first part of the season and COVID. I mean, it was kind of a tough run there for the linebackers, and hopefully with some of the things J-Ham's done to mix up the calls, that these guys will start showing out again like they did last year in some spots.
Absolutely. All right, Brian, real quick, Jalen Holston gets the 25.
Earned it.
It will only matter if they continue to use him correctly and actually get the man some touches.
Give him more touches, man. When he finally got touches last week, he was effective.
And you know what it does too? With the 80 to 85% juice, it kept Juice fresh. You imagine Juice at 95, 100%, where Jalen's going in there and getting some of the harder inside zone runs.
Yeah. And while we're at it, now that we maybe start leaning on Holston a little bit as the spell guy, find something for Blackshear to do outside of the box.
Wait a second, Brian. Didn't you say earlier that if we need to exploit the edges, there's a certain guy that can exploit the edges in our wide receiving core? His name's Blackshear.
Please do it. Please.
So Brian's not throwing things and having to get belligerent on Saturday. Brian, I looked at the we're getting in the truck and we're heading up to Pittsburgh. Looks like we're going maroon, white maroon.
That's what it looks like, man.
I'm okay with that.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's kind of the, not necessarily what I default to, but at the same time, it's kind of classic as well. So
keep it classic. All right, buddy. We had to get here, right?
We did.
We had to get to the predictions. You know what? I'll go ahead and start this out. Right now, just my feeling as a fan, what I've seen in the last month is just, it's worrisome where I am at on this coaching staff, where I'm at on kind of all aspects on the team. I'm down on them. Okay. And unfortunately, I'm going to continue to stay down, seeing how good this defense is, and with this ugly thought in the back of my head that the old defense is going to show up for a couple quarters. I'm going to go Pitt, unfortunately. I think Pitt's going to go 28-27. And again, what I keep saying, there's going to be drives where we're going to be at the doorstep that if we punch it in, we can win this game, but we're going to kick field goals.
Okay.
Similar to last week. We kicked a couple field goals. We attempted a long field goal, and essentially 1 point game. That's what loses you.
Couple times, man, but we should win this football game. I don't know if we're going to win this football game. It's the conundrum, man, because I don't trust what team's going to come off the bus. I don't trust what the coaches are going to do in crunch time. So it's hard for me to say 100%. Like, if you just said we're going to get the best game from our coaches, I'd say we probably win. But I can't guarantee that. If you said we were going to get the best game from our offensive line and not the game we got last week, I'd say we probably win. But I don't know that we're going to get that. So you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say that enough of what we need gets off the bus and we pull out a tight one, 31-28.
Brian goes 31-28 VT. I take Pitt 28-27 because we kick field goals versus scoring touchdowns. All right, let's roll on, get into our pick'ems for this week. Last week, Brian, we salvaged 500, 3-2 for both of us. I completely whiffed on the Michigan game. You nailed that one, but I got the UVA game right, unfortunately.
That's back-to-back weeks of you nailing UVA, man.
Jesus.
That's what she said.
Yeah. I'm just going to give them all the credit. They're yeah. All right, well, let's start. Let's start with tomorrow night, Syracuse-Louisville. Louisville is laying 18.5 points. Javian Hawkins has opted out for the season. Brian, I led with the first. You lead with this one. What do you say?
Man, Q sucks, but I don't know what team Louisville is going to be, especially with Hawkins up and out. So, give me Q's.
I'm with you. 18 points when literally your most consistent offensive player is not going to be there. 18 points, way too much to lay. We know how bad that Louisville defense is. I think Louisville wins. I think it's probably going to be an entertaining game, but 18.5 is just no way to go.
Just play cover 3 and spy Cunningham the whole game, and you're probably going to be okay.
Absolutely. All right, FSU Clemson. Never thought I'd say this in this game. Clemson is laying 35.5 points. And with all the turmoil, players opting out, injured players down at FSU, I'm laying the 35.5. I think Dabo enjoys putting it on FSU, and I think he will put it on it, especially with Trevor Lawrence back this week.
I'm torn between the dumpster fire and the fact that Clemson probably won't have to put their foot on the gas for 4 quarters. So that's what I'm weighing, and I'm going to say that I think Clemson wins by 32, so I'll take FSU in this one.
Does FSU break 14?
I think they get to 17.
All right.
I think they get to 17, so I'm saying Clemson is somewhere around 50.
Brian's going to go find some betting site that allows you to bet points on the other team. All right, Brian. Abilene Christian UVA, the tough out-of-conference game for the Wahoos. Wahoo's laying now 39.5 point. What say you?
Oh, man. You know, you've had a run of luck picking UVA, so I'll take them here against good old Abilene Christian.
I'm going to go against them this week, Brian.
Oh.
Fast. Especially with the big opt-out. Abilene Christian's not a good school. They're 1-4. They're 1-4. They've kept it competitive a couple games. But with UVA having probably their most talented interior defensive lineman or essentially get in the transfer portal this week, and then we know how thin they are on offensive line. One of their starters went out. I think they win the game by like 30, so somewhere like 40-10. But I don't think – I can't lay 39.5 with them. I think they know they have to play conservative, play not to lose, play smart. So I'm going to go with Abilene Christian and 39.5.
Okay.
All right.
I don't hate it.
Well, you know, when you have that many points, you really can't hate it. Like if you're taking the points, you know, it's one of those things where you're just constantly like, you just need to freaking keep scoring. Like, do not stop. Why are you putting your 4th string talent in? You're only up 28. You need to score to get to 40.
Keep it going.
All right.
You got a responsibility here.
Got a responsibility to win me money. All right, Brian. Let's do this one next. Liberty, NC State. You seen this one?
Yeah.
This one? You shocked by that? You shocked by State laying 3.5?
Yeah, that's a weird line.
Very weird line.
You get to pick first on this one. Who you going with?
This is the one that's kind of torn me. The other ones on our list, I felt good about. This one was back and forth. But I'm going to take Liberty. I will take them in points. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to win this game outright, but I think they're playing well enough, you know, with the backup quarterback down at NC State to at least keep it within a field goal and get that book win.
I'm going to take Liberty outright, so give me Liberty.
Liberty with a money line there. All right, Brian, let's go to the big game in the Big Ten in the Horseshoe at high noon on Saturday. Indiana and Ohio State. Ohio State laying 20. Indiana, the feel-good story of the year. I've not been able to see if the coach's son is doing okay. Got, you know, kind of banged up pretty scary last Saturday. But what do you think with this one, Brian?
I unfortunately think the feel-good kind of runs out in this one. I like Ohio State laying the 20. I don't think it's going to be much over that, but I think it'll be about 3 scores.
I'm going to flip and go the opposite way. I think Indiana's going to cover it. I think Indiana's going to give a tougher fight than what you're thinking. I think they can score enough points to stay right in earshot, probably lose somewhere between 10 and 13, so I like getting 20. I do see that as a high-scoring game. I don't know what the over-under is. Let me look real quick. I'm interested because
Efforting.
Over-under is 66.5. I think they're going to cream that over.
Yeah.
I think that
I would hammer that one.
Yeah, 66.5 does seem rather low. All right, Brian. Let's go True Pac-12 After Dark.
All right.
A 10:30 kick between the Utes of Utah and the USC Trojans. The Trojans laying 3.5 or 3 points straight up here. Having a looky at this. This is in Utah. Not sure if they've got fans. This is Utah's first game. They had everything. Their first two were canceled. USC is winning by the skin of their teeth. But I think this is going to be one of those. It's hard-nosed and tough as Utah plays. USC's had those couple weeks to figure out the kinks. I think they win this game by more than 3 points. So give me USC, lay the 3.
Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast. Give me Utah. I don't think that I think Utah's going to maybe shock them a little bit with maybe some wrinkles that they're putting in at the gate. So I think Utah might jump up on them pretty quick, and USC having to play a little comeback, and it's going to come up just short.
All right. So Brian takes the 3 with Utah. And Brian, our last one here, one of my favorite rivalries in the sport of college football, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's laying 7. It's Bedlam. It's always a good game, even though it felt like for years Oklahoma dominated it. But you always feel that rivalry there. What do you think on this one? Oklahoma laying 7.
It's a tough one, man. This is a tough one. I like Oklahoma to win this one outright, but I don't know if I like that 7 line. So give me Hokies State.
All right. I am with you on that. I think I don't know who's going to win this game. When I feel like it's not going to win, you have to take the other side. You have to take the points because, Oklahoma wins by anywhere from 1 to 6. You're a winner either way. Yep. So, and the other piece, Oklahoma State has some semblance of a defense. By all means, they'd be undefeated if their defense had remembered to play the fourth quarter against Texas, which I'm still kind of baffled at, but yes, that is what it is, man. All right, so there are our picks for the week. We'll see how this shapes up. Obviously, coming off a winning week, we're feeling better about our picks this week. Now, Mr. Sigla.
Yes, sir.
You have advised me that you are doing some test smoking this weekend.
Yeah, doing some dry runs. Normally, I do a full bird for Thanksgiving, but this year I'm going two breast, mixing in some different things. So I'm doing a couple dry runs of a couple new rubs I want to try that are more seasonal, a couple injections, and then based on that, picking the 2 that I want to use on the big day. So we'll have some turkey this weekend, and then we'll have some more turkey come Thursday. So I'm gonna be turkey heavy for the next week or so, man.
So week or so, hell, it sounds like if you're doing it this weekend and then you're going to do it on Thanksgiving, you're going to be legitimately eating turkey sandwiches for 10 days.
Well, I'm throwing a good amount of what I'm doing this weekend to the neighbors and to my pops. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'll probably have a couple meals and maybe a good Sammy out of it or 2, but a good chunk of it's going elsewhere, and then the other 2 will be just for the big day and for leftover Sammys after that. So
very nice, man. All right, checking everything here. We've got a good collegiate football game. Tulsa-Tulane. Tulsa scored last play of the game to tie it up.
Hey.
21-21. And the Cardinals and the Seahawks here, also a good game. So we'll be watching that as we wrap this up. Brian, anything else breaking on Hokie front or college football front?
I haven't seen anything big, man. I think we are good to go.
All right. So that is going to wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite source, including Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. Rate, review our podcast. Please tell us what you like, what you don't see. Feel free to hit us up either on our personal accounts on Twitter or the Boundary Corner with questions, subject matter you'd like to see us discuss. As always, we let our buddy Jason Long play us out. Catch him on Spotify and Apple Music. We thank you for listening, and as always, let's go
Hokies!